Let me start with something simple. Number one on my list might actually surprise you. It's cayenne pepper. You probably already have it in your kitchen, tucked away somewhere between the cinnamon and the paprika. But here's the thing. For men over 60, it's more than just a spice. See, as we age, our blood vessels lose a bit of their flexibility. They don't open up the way they used to, which slows down circulation. That can lead to cold hands and feet, fatigue, even a foggy head. Some men notice it in more personal ways, too. Changes in stamina, energy, and confidence. The worst part? Most don't even realize it's their blood flow causing the issue, but there's a natural way to wake your circulation back up, and that's where cayenne comes in. I've worked with older men for years, especially those dealing with fatigue or early vascular issues. I remember one guy clearly, George, 67, from Arkansas. He was a retired truck driver, tough guy, no nonsense, but during one appointment he told me his legs always felt half asleep. He couldn't walk as far anymore, and even in summer, he'd wear wool socks to bed. His doctor had ruled out diabetes and clotting issues. It came down to sluggish circulation. George wasn't a fan of medication unless it was absolutely necessary, so we looked at his lifestyle first. That's when I suggested cayenne. He laughed at me at first, said he thought that was just for chili, but he agreed to try. We kept it simple, just a small pinch, less than half a teaspoon, added to his vegetable stew once a day. After 2 weeks, he called me, said, "Doc, I don't know what that pepper's doing, but I'm sleeping barefoot for the first time in 10 years. A few weeks later, he was back to taking long walks with his dog, and he even told me he felt lighter in the head, more awake. Another patient, Alan from Nebraska, 71, started stirring cayenne into warm water with lemon and honey each morning. It became his favorite ritual, and the swelling in his ankles started to ease up. What often helps older men is not dramatic change, but consistency. One of the easiest things you can do is start with a sprinkle of cayenne pepper in soup, on eggs, or in a warm drink. It contains capsaicin, which helps dilate blood vessels and improve circulation. You don't need a lot. A small amount daily is enough to gently support your system. Just remember, your body is still capable of waking up and warming up from the inside out. Even one small spice used with care can become a quiet signal to your heart and vessels. It's time to move again. You deserve to feel warm, strong, and connected to your body. Start there and see what opens up. Here's another one that's easy to overlook but incredibly effective: ginger. Most folks think of it as something you toss into cookies or stir-fry, but it's actually one of the best natural tools we have for supporting circulation, especially as we age. After 60, the body doesn't process blood flow the same way. Metabolism slows down, blood can become thicker, and oxygen doesn't always reach where it needs to fast enough, especially the brain. That's when you start noticing things like low energy, foggy thinking, or that feeling like your head's just not fully on. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and you're not stuck with it either. I've seen this pattern so many times in my work, and I've lived through it with my own dad. He was a tractor mechanic for over 40 years, and by the time he hit 70, he was taking naps every afternoon, not out of comfort, but because he felt like his brain just couldn't stay awake. I remember visiting one summer and watching him stir his coffee 5 times before realizing he hadn't added anything to it. It was like his brain was stuck in neutral. I'll never forget Walter, one of my patients from Idaho, 72 years old, who described it as like someone stuffed cotton in my skull. He used to work on engines, sharp and quick, but in retirement he started slowing down in a way that didn't feel natural. He said he was tired all the time and couldn't focus on reading the paper without yawning. His cardiologist had cleared him for serious issues, but told him to look into diet changes, so Walter came to me. I suggested he try starting his day with a cup of warm water infused with fresh ginger and lemon. He looked at me sideways but gave it a shot. 2 weeks later, he told me, "I don't know what that root is doing, but my eyes pop open before the alarm now." He even started helping his grandkids with homework again because he could think more clearly. The change wasn't dramatic. It was steady, and that's the key. One of the simplest ways to support your circulation and mental clarity is to cut a few thin slices of fresh ginger root and steep them in hot water for 10 minutes. Add a squeeze of lemon if you like. You can drink it in the morning or after meals. Ginger has natural compounds that help thin the blood just enough to improve flow and reduce inflammation around the vessels. And when the blood flows better, your brain gets what it it needs faster. Think of it like fuel. Your body is still the same engine you've always had. It just needs the right spark to run smooth. Ginger may be a small change, but it's a powerful one. You don't have to do everything at once. Start with this. You'll be surprised how much lighter the day feels when your head is clear and your energy is steady. You're not running out of steam. You're just learning to run differently. The third one I'd like to bring up is something a lot of people have heard of, but don't always take seriously: turmeric. You'll find it in most kitchens, especially if someone enjoys cooking with a little flavor, but this bright yellow spice does more than just color your food. As we get older, low-grade inflammation becomes one of those things that quietly chips away at our health, especially when it comes to circulation. Inflammation in the blood vessels can make it harder for blood to move freely, which raises the risk of things like high blood pressure, leg swelling, even stroke or heart problems down the line. The frustrating part is that you often don't feel it happening until something goes wrong. But that doesn't mean it's out of your hands. You still have tools, simple ones, and turmeric is one of them. Now, I've seen this play out with plenty of people, but Eugene's story always comes to mind. He's 69, lives in a small town in Ohio, and used to be one of those guys who could never sit still. Yard work, golf, helping the neighbors fix their porch, always doing something with his hands. But a year or so after he had knee surgery, things changed. He said it started with just feeling stiff in the mornings, but over time, his ankles began to swell, and his legs would ache by early evening. He wasn't moving as much, and the blood wasn't flowing like it used to. His doctor ran some tests, ruled out clots and major vascular disease, but told him that chronic inflammation might be playing a role, especially after surgery. Eugene's granddaughter, who's studying nutrition, suggested he try turmeric. At first, he rolled his eyes and said he wasn't into fancy health stuff, but he gave it a try because he trusted her. He started adding a pinch to his scrambled eggs, and she made him a turmeric latte, what some folks call golden milk. Warm milk, a bit of turmeric, a dash of black pepper. After a couple of weeks, Eugene told me the swelling was down and his legs didn't feel as heavy. It wasn't a miracle. It was subtle, steady, and real. Another patient, Gloria, 71, from Florida, swears by a turmeric smoothie in the mornings, just half a teaspoon, but she says her joints feel less angry. What often helps in cases like this is starting small and staying consistent. One of the easiest ways to bring turmeric into your day is by adding it to things you already eat. Scrambled eggs, oatmeal, soups, or a warm drink before bed. Just a small amount, half a teaspoon, combined with a little black pepper, which helps your body absorb it better, can go a long way in calming inflammation and supporting healthy blood flow. I like to tell people, movement isn't just about your muscles, it's about your blood. If your circulation is free and steady, your whole body moves easier. Turmeric is a gentle helper in that process. And remember, even a small shift like this one can be the thing that helps you feel lighter, steadier, and more like yourself again. You deserve that. Not all at once, but step by step. Next on the list, and this one's as old school as it gets, is garlic. You probably already use it to season food, but few people realize how powerful it can be for your heart and blood vessels, especially as you age. One of the biggest circulation issues for men over 60 is buildup in the arteries, those cholesterol deposits that make it harder for blood to flow freely. Over time, this can raise your blood pressure, make your heart work harder, and even affect things like memory, stamina, and sexual health. The scary part is that you don't always feel it happening until something like a stroke or heart attack forces the conversation. But I've seen firsthand how small dietary changes, like adding garlic, can help your body push back naturally. I remember Raymond, 74, from outside Austin, Texas. Tough guy. Spent most of his life managing a cattle ranch, big hands, sunburned. Face, the kind of man who doesn't complain unless it's serious. He came to me a few years ago after his cardiologist recommended putting in a stent. His cholesterol was up, his blood pressure was high, and he had some tightness in his chest after walking uphill. But Raymond was dead set against any kind of surgery. Said he didn't want to be cut open unless there was no other choice. His wife, Darlene, was the one who pushed for change. She started adjusting his meals behind the scenes, less fried food, more greens. But the real game changer came when she added a single clove of fresh garlic to his breakfast every morning. She'd mash it up a little, spread it on a piece of whole grain toast, and hand it to him like it was part of the deal. He didn't like the smell at first, but he went along with it. A month later, when he came in for labs, his LDL cholesterol had dropped 15 points and his blood pressure was finally under control. He told me he felt more clear-headed and that he could walk farther without stopping. Another patient of mine, Harold, 68, from Missouri, adds raw garlic to his salad at lunch and swears it gives him more energy than coffee. What both men had in common wasn't just the garlic, it was the consistency. What often helps in situations like this is sticking with something simple every day. One of the easiest ways is to crush or finely chop a small clove of garlic and eat it raw with a piece of bread in the morning. Even better with a bit of olive oil. Garlic contains allicin, a compound that helps relax your blood vessels, reduce inflammation, and support smoother blood flow. Just 1 clove a day can make a real difference over time. And yes, garlic has a strong smell, but sometimes the things that smell the strongest are doing the deepest work. Think of it like cleaning your pipes. When the flow improves, everything starts to work better. You're not past your prime. Your body still listens when you treat it right. And 1 clove at a time is a pretty good place to start. Now, number 5 might sound more like a dessert topping than a circulation booster, but don't let that fool you. I'm talking about cinnamon. For a lot of men over 60, one of the quieter issues that builds up over time is poor blood flow. In the smallest vessels, the ones in your fingers, toes, and brain. Often this isn't caused by a big clot or blocked artery, but by thickened blood due to high blood sugar. Even if you don't have full-blown diabetes, slightly elevated glucose can slow down your circulation, which can lead to tingling in the feet, numbness in the hands, blurry thinking, or just a general lack of energy. And for men with type 2, diabetes, this can be even more serious, especially if it affects your ability to stay active or feel what's happening in your own body. But the good news is that certain natural foods, cinnamon being one of them, can help your body respond to insulin more efficiently and get that blood moving better again. I remember Harold, 68, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. He came in not long after being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He said it felt like overnight his feet stopped feeling like his own. He described it as needles and dull bricks, and he'd started avoiding walks because it made him anxious. He was already on medication, but didn't want to rely on pills alone, so we looked at what he could tweak in his daily habits. I asked him what his morning routine looked like, and he said, coffee no matter what. That's non-negotiable. I told him we wouldn't touch the coffee, but we could add something to it. I suggested half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, stirred in right after brewing. He raised an eyebrow, but said he'd try it. A few weeks later, he came back in and said, "You know, Doc, I thought it was a gimmick, but my toes don't feel as weird anymore." He was also checking his sugar more regularly and noticed fewer spikes after breakfast. Another patient, Carl, 72, from Oregon, started mixing cinnamon into his morning yogurt and said it helped him stay sharper through the day, less of that afternoon fade he used to blame on aging. What often helps is keeping it simple. One of the easiest ways to start using cinnamon is to mix half a teaspoon into your coffee, oatmeal, cottage cheese, or yogurt. Make sure it's true cinnamon, Ceylon, if possible, and be consistent. Every morning, not just once in a while. Cinnamon helps your body respond better to insulin and supports microcirculation, meaning it helps get oxygen-rich blood all the way to the smallest nerves and tissues. And the best part, it tastes good. You don't need to force this change. It's one of those rare things that feels like a treat and works like a tool. Sometimes health doesn't have to be complicated. One small scoop each morning can help you feel your feet again and feel more like yourself too. You're not stuck. You're just getting started in a new direction. What spices do you use? Share in the comments. Your tip might be exactly what someone else needs today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Here, we talk about health with respect and care. And remember, you are not alone. Your age is not a sentence, it's a journey. And that journey feels easier when your blood flows freely and your confidence returns.